our flames subsided, resigned and blinded, be subject, be quiet, our lives are divided, we have clamored, always diverged and buried all the.
Hello, Lauren. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing all right. Can you hear some music?
Thank you.
Oh, man. Let me turn down a little bit. As we get everything together, welcome to anybody that might be watching. Lauren, when's the last time you were out of doors?
Yesterday.
Wow. Congratulations. What'd you do? Go for a walk?
I went and served at Noah for the day.
Okay. Nice. So that's getting going right now then, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's good. Everything going all right down there for that?
Yeah, it seems like it. They have a really good system going.
Perfect. So we're gathering up some folks. We're looking for kind of David Nellis, Nick Bonsky, Sarah Alexander, those kinds of folks. Some other folks are going to be sending in some selfies of their moto food truck ideas, so that'll be cool. And we'll put it all together for the podcast. We'll just grab any live that we can here. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Have you been thinking about your moto food truck idea?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'll throw it to you first if we're still looking for somebody in a minute or two, okay? I've had the benefit of thinking about it and sharing some of my ideas already for the past 2 weeks, so that's been easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, welcome everybody to Uproar Live. We're going to be on hiatus for the next few weeks, but we are excited to close out this kind of session of episodes by checking in with some of our partners. And we have been asking the question about a moto food truck. And the idea would be, my friend John Reynolds had this amazing revelation as he was looking at Facebook Marketplace one day and saw an old food truck for like $500. And he was like, wait a second. If you're trying to do a multi-campus ministry or any kind of ministry that needs to be in different places at different times, wouldn't it make more sense to invest in a mobile headquarters that could also serve some coffee or something, and then you could go and be at all these different places? And it was one of those ideas that came to my mind. Like, I heard it and then I was immediately like, that is obviously the right answer to a lot of problems. You know what I mean? So I've been trying to call around. Lauren, I've been calling folks. Do you know the Union? It's down like in Texas, maybe Dallas area. You ever heard about them?
No.
So Union is like, it's kind of a fresh expression type, church thing with a coffee shop and stuff like that. And they had a food truck for a little while. And then I also talked to Rabbi Shlomo at Vanderbilt University, and they're running a kosher food truck on campus because none of the campus diner cafeteria areas have adequate kosher meat and food and stuff like that. So they've got this truck that shows up, and Jewish students can come and get kosher. I mean, anybody can come and get the food, but for Jewish students particularly. And so it's just been interesting to hear back from people about all the different ways that food trucks actually have served in a helpful kind of way. The folks down at Union also said that they had to compete against all the super cool, hipster, trendy food trucks in their town, and they couldn't compete very well because it was like they're kind of new on the block and they were, I don't know, it was a tough sell, I guess. So anyway, those are a couple of moto and some friends of ours up at Princeton, they were running for a while, and I got to check in with them. They were running a late night egg sandwich truck. It was one of those, like, if people have been out all night and they're coming back, like, what might they want late at night or early in the morning that we could provide that would also lend itself to showing up anywhere, and so they're like biscuits and eggs Benedict type things, and I think for them the challenges were like, where do we park this thing? Like if you're in a more of a built up city or whatever, can we use your parking lot? And, what do you mean you want to have students that are out too late eating in our parking lot? I don't get it. Do you have a favorite food truck, Lauren, that you've seen?
My favorite food trucks are the taco trucks.
Oh yeah. You've been down in our neighborhood much, Southwest Detroit?
I have not.
Oh, okay. All right. We gotta, once Tacos El Rodeo is back up and running, let's have you come down here and check it out, because it's, we live 2 blocks from a lot of really great restaurants here in Mexican Town, kind of part of Detroit. And I always tell people we rarely make it all the way there because the food trucks are in between, and we just stop. And you're right. That's the best. That's the best. Oh, man. All right. So, Lauren, we've been asking everyone, and I think now it's your turn. So if you had a missional food truck, what would it be? What would you serve? Where would you go? And how would it help you kind of participate in creating God's goodness in the world?
Like, it would serve food, right?
I mean, it's a food truck, but do you have some other ideas? You be serving Play-Doh or something?
Yeah, some Play-Doh. No, I don't know. I think I would serve like comfort foods, like French fries and Pop-Tarts and mac and cheese.
Nice.
And, like, comfort food type stuff. Because there's days where I'm like, I wish there was some French fries or these comfort foods nearby. If you're having a hard day or something, most people turn to comfort food. So mine would be a comfort food truck.
I love it. Would it kind of be non-entree focused? Like, you're going to go and grab like a large fry, but you might not have like a hamburger and a fry and a thing.
Yeah, more like non-entree.
Warm Pop. I'll have 2 sides. I'll have the warm Pop-Tarts and the sea salt fries, please. That's a great idea. I love it. And as we welcome David Nellis, who's coming on board here. Hi, David. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, thanks. How are you doing?
Good. This is Lauren Norton, and she
Lauren.
is one of our Global Mission Fellows serving here in Detroit. So she was pitching the beginnings of her food truck idea, which is a kind of a comfort food truck. And I was just about to ask, so you've got this comfort food, you got it in the truck, you're kind of bouncing around town. Where would you go? And then what would be like the, not exactly business model, but, how would you be sharing this food in a way, or where, with whom would you be sharing it that would be kind of also participating in like creating goodness in the world?
I think I would either go to a college campus,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes you just don't want to go to the dining hall or something, but you still want food and you don't want to leave campus.
Right.
Or I would go to an area of town that doesn't have like restaurants and stuff nearby, where they'd have to drive further.
Oh yeah.
And be like kind of in the in between, where they're not really close to anywhere else to go, but it would give them their comfort food cravings nearby.
I love it. You, like, even on a college campus, you're kind of surrounded by food options. Like, you can't get away from them. You might be forced to pay for the cafeteria plan, right? But still in need of some comfort food kind of experience. And sometimes in those part next to the wood where there's not a lot of restaurants or grocery stores around, like this truck could get there too. I love it. David, what does comfort food mean to you? What's your comfort food?
Oh, comfort food. Yeah, good. Well, what does that mean, comfort food? Oh, I think like hot dogs and things like that, and tacos and stuff, street taco. I think street tacos would be super from a food truck,
Yeah.
I think
Oh
that'd be
man.
really good. Yeah, brats, street tacos. Street tacos are the in thing, right? And they're really simple, and you can shape them to a community. What's the local food in that local community, and
Oh yeah.
what's the flavor of the day, so you can be very inventive with them.
There was the Mac Shack is a truck here in Detroit,
Mm,
and they used to have one dish called Kosan Row, which
mm,
was kind of this like banh mi
mm,
influenced
mm,
macaroni and cheese. So it's cool because
mm.
they're kind of playing with a couple of different cultures and kind of putting them together. And it
Yeah,
was
right. Yeah, exactly. And I was thinking like you could kind of like tailor the food to what is happening in the world. If it's like Saint Pat's Day or something, round about Saint Pat's Day, you can do your corned beef and cabbage stuff. And hey, what would that look like in a taco? Who knows? I don't know. You know what I mean? You
yeah,
could be so creative, or like round the July the 4th or something. Like, what would that look like? What's the food of the season for that time of year? You know what I mean?
I love it. So
Is that you?
David, I'm
Mm,
thinking maybe so
mm,
we'd ask you too. Like now's your
mm.
chance to pitch this missional food truck idea, and we're gonna bring Nick on so you can listen too. Hi Nick, how are you?
Hi
Hey, Nick.
everyone, how are you doing?
Hey, good to see you, Nick.
Good
Hi.
to see
So David, if you had a missional food truck,
Mm,
what would it be? What would you serve? Where would you go? And how would it
mm.
help you co-create God's goodness in the world?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for sharing that. Well, here's a couple of ideas. At my church here in Dearborn, we actually have like a food pantry. It's like your little free library, but it's a little free food pantry.
Yeah.
And actually, during this time of pandemic, it's been heavily, heavily used. We've been supplying it and resupplying it.
Mm.
So something, maybe like an extension of that might be to have the food truck in the parking lot, as an extension of the little free food pantry,
Mm-hmm.
and just have it open to the public. We could, maybe the church could even subsidize it or something. Who knows? And say, hey, yeah, come and get something for $1. You know what I mean? For $1, we'll give you, whatever. So that's one idea that I had. Again, we could tailor the food to, the flavor of what people like in our community, because here in Dearborn, we're a 50% Arabic community, and who knows, we could do some really fabulous Mediterranean food or something with a food truck.
I love it. Some of our partners up at the
Mm,
Central
mm,
Detroit Christian CDC,
mm, mm,
they ended up putting together a fresh food truck,
mm.
and because a lot of the places where people got groceries were basically liquor stores in the neighborhood they were serving,
Yeah,
and they had to learn when to stock up on black-eyed peas because
right.
people in that neighborhood needed them at particular times of year. I don't know,
Yeah,
2 years or something like that. But they learned that whole kind of rhythm for that community,
yeah.
and they stuck to
Sure.
this like main vision
Yeah,
of healthy
yeah,
food where people need it. So it's kind
yeah.
of echoing what you're thinking.
Yeah, and many years ago, when I was a pastor in England at one of my churches in the city, we're in the heart of the city of Liverpool. We used to run a luncheon club on a Tuesday and a Thursday, and people would come there. They would pay £1, which is the equivalent of paying $1, and they'd come and pay the pound or the dollar. And they would eat, and they would eat well for it. You know what I mean? So imagine having something like that, but having the flavor of the food for that community, because it varies in our wonderful Greater Detroit area.
Mm-hmm.
The other idea, if I could just share it with you,
Yeah.
Carl, and share it with the group here, is that at the church we are planning, just in the planning stages of doing drive-in worship.
Yeah.
And I thought how cool it would be to have a food truck at the drive-in worship, not just for those who regularly come and attend worship, but hopefully we will attract other people in the community, and it will just add something to it, that actually there's a food truck there. We're more than just about worship and trying to bring people in, and we're sharing something else because there's needs in the community. So have a food truck there kind of every week, and again, depending on what's happening in the rhythm of the community or in the life of the nation, whether it's St. Pat's Day or whether it's July 4th weekend or something, shape the food up in that sense. I mean, what would that be? Would it be brats during the July 4th weekend? Would it be fantastic ice cream? Or who knows? Hey, so they're my couple of great ideas. Couple
I
of
love
ideas.
it. One of the other things is, there's a bunch of food trucks that would have been at all of the Detroit City football club soccer games, right? There may be some places looking for a place to be right now, even if you don't have your own food truck, that you can use that kind of experience as a way to enhance the ministries that we're doing.
Sure.
I love it. Well, thank you, David. I really appreciate that. We're going to let people kind of pop on and off as they need to, and I want to send it to Nick.
Thank you.
Nick, thanks for jumping on. You're up at Orchard, UMC,
pleasure.
and doing the youth thing up there.
Yeah.
How are things going with that? All right?
They are going well. I mean, my youth group is a pretty large youth group, so I've broken them up into small prayer groups, essentially, where we meet a couple times a week through Zoom. So I'm zoomed out, as I can imagine all of you all are, but it's been a great way that they've kept a connection so far.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So in the ministry that you do, or the ministry that you might envision in the future, is there a food truck model that would help you do some cool things that you wouldn't be able to do right now? What would your vision?
So I gotta admit, I struggled with this question for a while. Like, I had a hard time with this because I was thinking about some of the parts of the question, like what foods would you serve, where would you go, and all these different things. So my mind, I immediately start thinking of comfort foods, right?
Yeah.
And they're comfort foods for me, right? So like, I grew up in a working class neighborhood. So we didn't have a lot of fresh produce. We didn't have all that stuff. We survived off processed foods. Like, Monday night was hamburger night. Tuesday night was Salisbury steak night from the oven and all that. So, we had, every night was set on our food. So I was thinking, like, if I had a food truck, man, I would have all my comfort foods, right?
Yeah.
I kept thinking about that more, and I'm like, well, wait, that's kind of like, this is part of the problem that we've kind of run into with missions over the years, is we try to institute like it's silly, but we try to institute our values on someone else. So like, this food provides me comfort, so therefore it's going to provide you comfort, right? Eat your processed hot dogs like me and love it. So I think, honestly, like, what food I would serve, depending on the neighborhood, I think before I even started serving food, like maybe a week before, I'd go in and canvass the neighborhood. Like, what do you want us to serve? Like, what do you want? What do you value? So I think I would do that. So I know I'm kind of copping out of your answer a little bit here. I get that. But it was a dilemma for me, because I'm like, man, mashed potatoes would be good, or some hot dogs, some like, like all this weird food for me, but for others,
man, the idea of a fancy mashed potato truck, a la an ice cream truck, where you're scooping it out on.
Could you imagine that? And like, you have like the like the buffet of all the ingredients. Like, here's your bacon bits, and here's your. Oh my God! I think we're on to something.
We would figure that one out. Yeah, that's right. I want to bring Sarah on as we continue to chat. Where, Nick, as you think about your youth, your young adults that you connect with, where are the places that you would need to take this amazing comfort food truck to?
In relation to the youth?
Yeah, if you're engaging both the folks that are in the church, connected with our churches, but also the communities that we are in. Where are those meeting places?
Where are the meeting places? Oh my gosh, where aren't the meeting places? That's a really difficult thing. Like, I think we all want to kind of lump in certain locations where they meet, but honestly, where they're gathered, that is where the joy is. So like with youth or whatever, it doesn't matter where they're at. It could be the local park. It could be, we have a movie theater down the road, like the Imagine theaters, like they kind of gather there, or, all these different places. So honestly, I think my food truck is going to follow the laughter and follow the joy.
I love it. Well, and
that's kind of what I think about. Like,
you might not need a location. You might just need a route.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and I know I'm really copying out of all your answers. I'm not giving you any answers. I'm like, I'm going to listen to the people, or I'm just going to follow the people. Like, that's kind of how I feel, right? One of the most important things I did in youth ministry is when I stopped talking and started listening to them. And then all of a sudden my youth ministry was successful. And I'm like, well, how did this happen? Oh, I shut up. you know.
Okay,
So,
I'll write that down, Nick.
Yeah.
Thank you for the reminder.
Yeah,
I
it can
really
be a
appreciate it.
dangerous thing sometimes, but yeah.
Well, thanks, Nick. I really appreciate that. And
Yeah, not a
Sarah,
problem.
thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good to be here.
You want to tell people where you're serving right now?
Yeah, I serve as deacon of high school and young adult ministry at Birmingham First in Birmingham, Michigan.
Welcome, welcome.
Yeah.
Part of a very exclusive club of folks that have resided in the parsonage there on Pleasant Street.
Yeah, our survival club.
That's right. I survived 361 Pleasant.
Yeah, Carl and I have lived in the same house, which is just an interesting.
That's a weird dynamic.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And Dan Hart. So shout out to Dan Hart.
Oh, dear.
Maybe we can tag him on this.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
You have your own Facebook group and everything.
We do. We do
Very
actually have
exclusive
a. We do have a message group.
So, Sarah, as you've been thinking about what would your missional food truck be, where would it go? What would you serve? How would it create goodness in the world? What do you think about that?
So I have two kind of ideas, but they're very similar. So I was thinking about how stressful finals, like the time of going through finals and finishing them, like there's really never that same feeling of relief when
Right.
you finish finals, whether it's in high school or college or grad school or what have you. So I would love, I think if I had a food truck, I would love to set up camp either during finals as like a self-care, like we see you, we're here with you.
Yeah.
Or on that day after finals. So for high school, I think that would just be, I mean, really for high school and college, right? Like it would just be
Sure.
wherever the space that they get out is, or like the most common space that they're released into the world. So I think that would just be like just a really hospitable way to walk alongside young people during that time of stress.
That's awesome. I'm bringing Bridget's with us here. Hi, Bridget. How are you?
Hey, Bridget.
Thanks for joining us. Sarah's in the middle of pitching her taking care of people during finals food truck vision.
Yeah, so I like the finals idea because finals is just like such a hard time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things we've been trying to think about too.
I haven't really heard how those are even happening. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
right. Virtual finals.
During this time.
Like that finals idea is fantastic because I don't know about you, but I remember my days when I was doing the finals. Like that's one thing I neglected to do was eat, right? Like I got to study and I'm focusing on that, or I'm snacking on like crackers or like gummy bears or something unhealthy, which ain't good for your study habits, right?
It's so true.
So you always neglect food for those things.
Yeah.
Sarah, as you think about that kind of a food truck, not that we all have any of the business acumen to know the answer to this question, but what is the business model for your food truck, for any of us? Are we giving this stuff free? Are we asking for a donation? Are we charging up the wazoo so that we can pay fair wage to a person to have a job? I mean, what kind of way would you approach that side of things?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think initially you have to get some like stakeholders on board, right? Like people that, I don't know, retired educators or something like that, where they have the means to be able to pay it forward. And then, I think as you create a space or a consistent kind of presence, you could always put out a donation bin. But I think for youth and young adults, like they just don't have those resources. So I think you just lean toward it kind of always being free, and you figure out how to get supporters and folks who care about youth and young adults behind the scenes to continue to support those things.
Yeah, that sounds good. I was telling Lauren that I talked with Rabbi Shlomo, who leads the Hillel group at Vanderbilt University.
Okay.
Cool.
And they do a kosher food truck because the cafeterias there don't really provide kosher food, which, is an interesting niche to fit into.
Yeah.
But he was kind of, as I was thinking about that, the business side, I thought, so Rabbi Shlomo, does it make sense if we're going to be giving away some good stuff, maybe we keep it on the simpler side of things so it doesn't become a financial burden to, be making real fancy, expensive things and trying to give that away. So, you can tailor what you provide to meet the kind of financial missional impact that you want to create. So that's just one thing to think about. I love it. Sharing the love of the church with some young folks going through some tough times, normal tough times, and maybe, COVID type tough times. You can take it to their backyard, I guess, and they can.
Like the ice cream truck, but less creepy.
That's right.
Yes, we'll just show up with our masks on.
Yes.
It's not creepy at all.
Sarah, did you have a second version that you wanted to share too, or?
Do I have a second version? No, I think it would just be for both high school and young adults. I think they're in. So those are like different seasons, right? So, kind of a December. I don't know. Maybe the food is different, but my initial inclination in terms of menu is not healthy. So sorry. I don't think it would help Nick's predicament, but I thought like gourmet corn dogs.
Oh, yeah.
Easy,
That could be right next to my mashed potato truck.
Potato truck. I had a baby shower that had a mashed potato bar that was very fun. So I think like corn dogs, but you could also do like vegan dogs and gluten-free dogs and maybe kosher dogs. And then just like toppings, right? Like you just put out, I don't know, whatever toppings. And then just like carrot. So to help Nick, I thought like we could do also just like chopped up, just like pre-cut up apples and celery and carrots, so that because that's really what you're like, man, I just wish I could like go somewhere and just like get apple slices right now, or like a little veggie tray.
Grab and go veg. That's great.
Right. Yeah. So that's what I was thinking for menu.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for pitching that Moto food truck idea. I love it. We're gonna steal it, but we'll drive it to your house because we know where you live. Bridget, thanks for joining us. We wondered if you had an opportunity to think about, if you had a food truck, how could you use it missionally to support the young people you work with, to reach out to the community, et cetera, et cetera. And, how would it help you co-create God's goodness in the world? That's all.
Gosh. I mean, one of the things we're dealing with right now is that our church is, in downtown Royal Oak. And it is just a ghost town down there. There's literally, I mean, our church still is doing bag lunch 5 days a week. So we still are getting our homeless guys that come, but even fewer of them even. And so I'm like, I'm trying to picture what that would look like to have that at our building, but it's so dead around there right now. Like truly just a couple times I've gone to church, if it's not bag lunchtime, it's just like, I don't see another human being. And of course that's going to change here any minute. But yeah, so that would be something we'd have to think about in terms of our church space.
Is there the folks that are coming for bag lunch, do you have a sense of where they are staying and where they are when they're not at the church?
Yeah, they stay around Royal Oak.
Okay.
And the group that comes now, we're getting like 20 a day, where we usually would have closer to 50. They're the ones that are probably the longest term Royal Oak people. Other people, they say other people have relocated to Pontiac or Detroit, where there's just a little more going on for homeless folks.
Okay.
So I imagine some of those people will start to come back when they can come back in our building, but that's still a ways off. So, but we do have restaurants that provide a hot meal still, where they'll come set up a hot meal, and then what the church provides is a takeaway lunch. So they kind of get 2 meals in one stop,
Nice.
one now, one later. And we have a good relationship with like Pronto does that once a week, and there's other folks that do that. So maybe this could be something part of that, but I don't right now. I'm just thinking about how we would reach kind of student population might be more challenging.
Sure. The other conversation that I've had has been around the idea of providing a way for a team of students, maybe, you guys are Kitty Corner, Oakland Community College is right there at Real Oak. If there's a team of students that is operating a food truck as their kind of outreach to the community, not necessarily getting food to other students, maybe, right? And thanks for bringing up the food ministry that your church already does. Some other churches already do. David Nellis had talked about the food pantry that they have, and the idea of maybe somehow imagining, a food truck that can kind of expand or, complement that kind of ministry. I think it's another great way to think about that. Again, instead of how do we have a hip food truck that everybody wants to line up to get, fancy biscuits or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, friends, I really appreciate your vision for things, and we just want to put into the podcast. We'll have a couple other people sending in some selfie videos that we'll put into the podcast version here, and we're going to keep thinking and praying about how we are, we really appreciate all the deacons in the world, and as a deacon,
yes, we do very much so.
Thinking about all my sister deacons. Deacons are really good at helping us keep on thinking about how we get out there into the world. And this is just one way that we're thinking about doing that. And we encourage, if there are folks that want to come alongside us in this kind of vision, that you can go to motorcitywesley.org and find some more information on that. And we just really appreciate taking your time today for you all. Hi, Bridget. I wonder if there is I gave Lauren the chance to say what have been your favorite food trucks as another way of thinking about this. So is there one that pops to mind as we're wrapping up for you all?
Oh, favorite food truck. So our neighborhoods are we're having food truck tours through our neighborhoods over the last couple of months, which has been absolutely incredible.
Oh, nice.
It's a way to kind of give them business when they can't, go to the market squares and all that. And there's been one that's a donut food truck, and that is just amazing because they're going through the machine. They come out piping hot, and they taste like the donuts from you would get at an apple orchard. Oh, just so fantastic. So donut food truck, which goes with Sarah's final truck, which I think would be perfect.
That's true. Yeah. Maybe we can get some UMW to chop up fruits and vegetables to have on the side.
I guess no one's gonna eat those, but the donuts, right? That's important.
It's true. It'd be interesting to see if anyone takes those rabbit foods.
Take them out of guilt.
I think my favorite food truck. It's always it's always a taco truck. Man, I just love street tacos, and
that is coming down as the hands down winner today.
Yeah, man, they're just fresh, hot. And you always are starving, right? Because the lines are always long and it's always hot out or something. And so it's always this is the best taco I've ever had. Oh, but I think street tacos. Yeah. Lauren, what was your favorite?
Taco.
Yeah.
Taco as well.
Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
I keep envisioning, and I don't know if I've seen this anywhere, but I would love to see if it works. And I don't know, licensing and whatever. I mean, these are things we have to figure out. But a potluck food truck really gets me thinking.
That'd be pretty cool.
If we just had 3 or 4 ovens that had 6 or 7 casseroles in them, whenever we were out there, and we just serve up a plate, and that might be pretty interesting to me.
I'd be game for that.
Right? Absolutely.
Do you remember your days back in college where they had the big, in the dorms where they had the big long cereal things and you could turn the wheel and all the cereal would drop out?
Yeah.
I would like a cereal truck. There's 50 cereals that you can choose from. Oh, you push the button, milk comes out, and
you could donate a certain amount and get a short pull, and then donate more and get a long pull.
Exactly. And then if you're one of the top givers, the Lucky Charm one is only the marshmallows. That's the top giver gets the marshmallow only.
Yeah.
So I'm game.
We've done it, friends. We've created Missional Food Truck Ministry with a lot of great ideas. Thanks for being with us today. We'll see you all later.
Thank you for inviting me on.
Thanks for having
us. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.